Welcome to the Deeper Thinking podcast, where we unravel the profound questions that shape our existence. In today's episode, we explore the themes of another Desmond Morris classic, The Naked Ape, a work that challenged our assumptions about human nature by stripping away the illusions of culture and exposing us as biological creatures driven by instincts we often fail to recognize. You look in the mirror, and for a fleeting moment, the face staring back isn't yours. Something in the reflection is off, an unfamiliar expression, a sense of detachment, as if the self you've always known has momentarily stepped aside. The feeling vanishes as quickly as it came, but the unease lingers. What does it mean to be aware of oneself? More importantly, why do humans experience this at all? A dog feels hunger, a chimpanzee anticipates danger, but a human questions their own existence. It's tempting to believe that self-awareness is a gift, something that elevates us above the rest of the animal kingdom. Civilizations rise and fall, great works of art are created, scientific progress reshapes the planet, and through it all we cling to the belief that we are different. Not just in degree, but in kind. That there is something within us that transcends our biological roots. Yet at our core, we remain animals, descendants of primates, driven by instincts, shaped by millions of years of natural selection. The brain that composes symphonies is the same brain that hoards resources, the same brain that lashes out in fear, the same brain that craves dominance and belonging. If we strip away language, culture, technology, what's left? Other animals recognize their reflections. Dolphins, elephants, and some primates pass the mirror test, showing an awareness of their own physical form. But only humans go further. Only humans question the nature of the self, wonder about the past, obsess over the future, construct identities, and tell stories to explain why they are here. Is this truly a leap beyond the animal world, or is it merely an extension of survival, just another evolutionary tool that gave us an edge? Religions, philosophies, and mythologies have long sought to define what sets us apart, often positioning humanity as something more than flesh and instinct. Yet science continues to dismantle the illusion of separateness. Emotions? Chimps grieve their dead. Intelligence? Crows solve complex puzzles. Social structures? Wolves and ants organize themselves with efficiency. So where do we draw the line? If consciousness itself is just an accident of evolution, a byproduct of increasingly complex brains, does that mean everything we consider human is nothing more than a sophisticated illusion? The unsettling possibility is that we are not the exception we believe ourselves to be, that everything we attribute to intelligence, morality, even free will, is just biology playing an elaborate trick. And if that's true, if we are just another species shaped by evolutionary forces, can we ever truly transcend them, or are we still, in the end, just naked apes pretending to be something more? A dog hears a sound in the distance and pricks up its ears. A chimpanzee sees a rival approaching and quickly weighs whether to fight or flee. But only humans sit in silence and wonder, who am I? This ability to reflect, to step outside of immediate survival concerns and examine our own thoughts, is often treated as proof that we are something beyond our animal ancestry. It is the foundation of philosophy, the root of creativity, the engine of every civilization. But was consciousness an inevitable destination on the evolutionary path, or just a lucky accident? The standard scientific view is that consciousness emerged gradually as brains became more complex. Early life forms responded to their environments without awareness, like machines processing inputs. As nervous systems evolved, creatures became capable of feeling pain, hunger, the drive to mate. But at some point, something changed. The first sparks of self-awareness appeared. Organisms didn't just experience the world, they became aware that they were experiencing it. Why? Some theories suggest that this shift was purely practical, an adaptation that helped early humans anticipate danger, plan ahead, and navigate increasingly complex social groups. In this view, consciousness is not a gift or a miracle, but simply another survival mechanism, no more extraordinary than a bird's ability to migrate or a spider's skill at weaving webs. Yet self-awareness comes with burdens. Unlike other animals, humans suffer from existential dread. We grieve for lost time, feel guilt for past mistakes, and fear the unknown. No other species constructs religions to explain death or spends entire lifetimes searching for meaning. If consciousness was meant to serve us, why does it torment us? Some philosophers argue that this is evidence that self-awareness was not an evolutionary necessity, but an accident, an unintended byproduct of growing neural complexity. David Chalmers calls this the hard problem of consciousness. Why does having a brain feel like something? Why do we experience a rich inner world instead of simply reacting to stimuli? Even among humans, consciousness is inconsistent. A person under anesthesia is, for all practical purposes, unconscious. Some neurological conditions cause individuals to lose their sense of self, revealing how fragile our awareness really is. If consciousness can flicker on and off, if it can be diminished or erased by damage to the brain, is it really the fundamental essence of what makes us human? Or just an illusion, a trick of the mind? If self-awareness is an evolutionary accident, does that mean our morality, our laws, our sense of purpose are just echoes of a mistake? And if everything we take for granted as human is just a sophisticated survival tool, what does that say about the things we hold most sacred? A chimpanzee steals food from an unsuspecting rival. A second chimp, watching from a distance, doesn't just react, it remembers. The next time food is scarce, it chooses carefully whom to trust. Cooperation, fairness, and even revenge are not uniquely human traits. They are evolutionary strategies honed over millions of years to ensure survival in complex social groups. If morality feels like an absolute force, something sacred, something beyond mere instinct, what if that feeling itself is just another adaptation? What if our deepest sense of right and wrong is nothing more than nature's way of keeping the tribe together? The origins of morality can be traced back to simple reciprocity. Early human ancestors who helped each other, who shared food, who groomed one another, who formed alliances, were more likely to survive than those who acted purely in self-interest. Over time, natural selection reinforced behaviors that promoted group cohesion. Altruism, loyalty, even the concept of fairness, these were not divine gifts, but practical necessities. Frans de Waal's research on primates reveals that even monkeys react with outrage when treated unfairly. A capuchin will happily accept a cucumber as a reward until it sees another monkey receive a grape for the same task. The cheated monkey throws the cucumber back in protest, its sense of justice violated. If fairness exists in a creature with no legal system, no religion, no formal moral code, what does that say about the foundations of human ethics? And yet, morality often demands more than simple reciprocity. Humans sacrifice for strangers. They create laws that punish selfishness even when there is no immediate benefit to the group. They feel guilt not just for harming others, but for failing to live up to abstract ideals. Why? Some argue that morality has evolved beyond its original function. What began as a biological mechanism for survival became entangled with culture, religion, and philosophy. The earliest human societies enforced moral codes through storytelling, myth, and punishment from unseen gods. Over time, these systems shaped civilizations, making morality feel like something external, an unchanging force rather than a set of behaviors shaped by context and necessity. If morality evolved, does that mean it is relative? If it is rooted in survival, does that mean it can shift, disappear, or be rewritten? And if moral instincts were once necessary for a species struggling to endure in small tribal groups, what happens when those instincts collide with modern life? If morality is an algorithm written by evolution, can it be rewritten? Or is our deepest sense of good and evil just another trick of biology, useful once, but now a relic of a different world? A soldier grips his rifle, his breath shallow, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. He does not know the man in his crosshairs, only that they have been declared enemies by forces larger than them both. Across the battlefield, another soldier does the same, caught in the same ancient rhythm. Their war is not new. It is not an aberration. It is the continuation of something older than civilization itself. If morality evolved to bind us together, why has war remained the force that defines us? We tell ourselves that war is a failure, a breakdown of diplomacy, a tragic necessity, an unfortunate stain on an otherwise rational species. But history does not support this illusion. Warfare is not a deviation from civilization, it is one of its foundations. The first human societies were not built on peace, but on the ability to conquer, defend, and expand. Archaeological sites reveal mass graves from prehistoric battles, evidence of organised violence long before written history. Even our closest relatives, chimpanzees, engage in strategic raids, attacking rival groups with precision and coordination. War was not something we invented, it was something we inherited. The same instincts that once protected small tribes now drive entire nations. Evolution rewarded cooperation, but only within the group. The ability to distinguish us from them, to see outsiders as threats, once ensured survival, but now it manifests as nationalism, religious extremism, and political factionalism. Borders, ideologies, and identities have become the modern battlegrounds, yet the fundamental conflict remains unchanged. The battlefield has evolved, the weapons have become more efficient, but the war itself never stopped. Even in times of so-called peace, the machinery of war never sleeps. Social media, built for connection, has become an ideological battlefield where enemies are manufactured and outrage is weaponized. Algorithms amplify division, radicalizing populations without a single shot being fired. Political rhetoric mirrors military strategy. Leaders attack policies, activists mobilize, victories are declared over ideological opponents. The war continues, no longer fought with swords and bullets, but with narratives and information. And if war has learned to evolve with us, can we ever truly leave it behind? If aggression is not a flaw, but a feature, is peace ever truly possible? Civilization may channel violence into controlled forms, economic competition, legal battles, digital warfare, but it does not erase the instinct itself. And if one day we succeed in eliminating war, what will we become without it? If conflict has always shaped our civilizations, our ambitions, our very sense of purpose, can we truly exist in its absence? Or is war not just something we do, but something we need? If we ever achieve peace, will it mark our final evolution or the beginning of something emptier than we ever imagined? A peacock unfurls its brilliant feathers, a display designed not for survival, but for attraction. A stag lowers its antlers, engaging in battle not to kill, but to win the right to pass on its genes. A human swipes through faces on a screen, making a decision in seconds, drawn to symmetry, status, and an unspoken instinct they do not fully understand. The rituals have changed, but the forces beneath them remain the same. For millions of years, sexual selection has dictated who thrives and who fades away. But now, as we rewire gender, redefine attraction, and separate reproduction from biology, are we witnessing a break from evolution itself, or merely its next stage? For most of history, mating strategies followed a biological script. Men competed, women chose. Strength, status, and fertility determined reproductive success, shaping the structure of society itself. These were not arbitrary social traditions, but evolutionary imperatives written into our genetic code long before civilization emerged. But today, those conditions no longer hold. Women no longer require men for security or survival. Men no longer prove their worth through dominance alone. Technology has untethered reproduction from physical intimacy, and shifting cultural norms have fractured the idea that gender is biologically fixed. If evolution dictated these instincts, what happens when the environment that shaped them no longer exists? Some argue that gender was never rigid, that it was always a construct layered onto biology. Simone de Beauvoir wrote that one is not born, but rather becomes a woman, dismantling the assumption that biology should dictate identity. Judith Butler pushed further, arguing that gender is not an essence but a performance, shaped and reinforced by social expectations. Now, science and technology are pushing this idea beyond philosophy. Hormonal treatments and surgeries allow individuals to alter their biological sex. Artificial wombs may soon make pregnancy unnecessary. Even attraction itself, once bound by the reproductive logic of evolution, may be rewritten through neuroscience and genetic engineering. If gender roles were once dictated by survival, are we now dismantling the last biological foundation of identity? Yet, for all our progress, biology resists erasure. Studies show that attraction still follows ancient rules: symmetry, pheromones, subconscious signals of fertility and dominance. Dating algorithms, despite their modern interfaces, still reinforce selection biases that have existed for millennia. Even as we challenge old norms, evolution's fingerprints remain on our desires, shaping them in ways we do not fully understand. If we can reprogram gender, redefine attraction, and separate reproduction from biology, are we breaking free from evolution's grip? Or are we severing the last tether to what it once meant to be human? If even the forces that shaped our survival can be rewritten, then are we still bound to the species that came before us? Or have we crossed into something new, where identity is no longer inherited but manufactured? A Neanderthal is buried with flowers, his body carefully arranged, pigments staining the earth around him. There is no practical reason for this, no survival advantage to mourning the dead, no immediate benefit to honouring a corpse. And yet this burial is not unique. Across early human sites, graves are found adorned with beads, tools, even evidence of rituals. What does this mean? If survival was our only concern, why did we begin to tell stories, create symbols, build myths? Did culture emerge as an extension of biology, or was it the first real break from evolution's script? For most of history, human behaviour was shaped by instinct. We ate when we were hungry, fought when we were threatened, and sought mates to continue our genetic line. But at some point, we did something no other species had done. We began to think beyond the immediate. We created meaning where there was none, transforming raw survival into art, language, and belief systems. Culture did not help us outrun predators or find food faster, yet it became central to our existence. Why? One theory is that culture itself became an evolutionary advantage. Language allowed humans to cooperate on an unprecedented scale. Religion created shared moral codes, strengthening social bonds. Art and storytelling preserved knowledge, shaping the identity of tribes and civilizations. Richard Dawkins proposed that just as genes carry biological information, units of cultural transmission carry ideas evolving over time through selection, replication, and adaptation. In this sense, culture is not separate from evolution. It is evolution, just in a different form. But if culture can evolve independently of biology, does that mean it can break free from it? Unlike genetic evolution, which takes thousands of years, cultural evolution moves at lightning speed. A human from 10,000 years ago would struggle to recognize the world today, yet our biological instincts remain largely the same. We still crave sugar, fear social rejection, and form tribal loyalties, even as we live in artificial environments with rules of our own making. This raises a profound question. If culture is now shaping us more than biology, are we still subject to natural selection, or have we created a new kind of evolution, one where ideas rather than genes determine our survival? If that is true, what happens when culture moves too fast for biology to keep up? If our instincts were shaped for small groups and simple choices, what happens when we are bombarded with limitless information, infinite possibilities, and artificial realities? Have we mastered culture, or has culture mastered us? And if evolution once shaped our minds, but now our minds shape the world, is this the final break? The moment when we cease to be animals and become something else entirely? A hunter on the African savannah sees movement in the tall grass. It could be the wind, or it could be a predator. The safe choice is to assume the worst and react immediately. Hesitation might mean death. That same brain, wired for survival in a world of immediate threats, now scrolls through an endless feed of headlines, disaster, outrage, crisis. The same instincts that once protected us now flood us with anxiety, priming us for conflict in a world we no longer control. Evolution shaped us for an environment that no longer exists. Our ancestors lived in small, tight-knit groups where trust was built face-to-face. Today, we interact through screens, our social instincts hijacked by algorithms designed to provoke emotion. We evolved to crave sugar and fat because these were once rare, precious resources. Now they are everywhere, leading to diseases our bodies were never built to handle. Our ability to anticipate danger once kept us alive. Now it fuels chronic stress, paranoia, and a deep-seated fear of the unknown. Nick Bostrom calls this the evolutionary mismatch problem. The idea that human instincts designed for a prehistoric world are ill-equipped for the rapid acceleration of modern life. Our species developed intelligence, but intelligence alone does not override biology. We build machines that outthink us, yet we remain bound by instincts we don't fully understand. We design systems that optimize for profit and power, yet they manipulate the same primal urges, status, tribalism, dominance that once dictated survival. Are we evolving, or are we trapped in a loop of our own making? Nowhere is this clearer than in our relationship with technology. Artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and the increasing integration of humans with machines suggest that we are on the verge of a new evolutionary leap, one no longer dictated by nature, but by our own design. Yet, even as we push toward progress, we remain tethered to the past. We develop AI assistants, but we treat them as companions, as if mimicking social bonds can satisfy something deeper. We create virtual worlds, yet the emotions they trigger are still rooted in ancient neural pathways. We attempt to surpass our biological limits, yet we remain haunted by desires we cannot escape. If our instincts no longer serve us, can we reprogram them? Can we shape evolution in real time, rewriting the code that nature has etched into us over millennia? Or are we simply layering new complexities onto an ancient machine, forever bound by circuits that were built for a different age? If intelligence allowed us to reshape the world, but not ourselves, what happens next? Are we still evolving, or have we become the first species to outgrow its own survival mechanisms without knowing what comes after? A child is born, her DNA meticulously edited to eliminate disease, enhance intelligence, and extend her lifespan far beyond natural limits. She is not the product of chance, but of design, her existence shaped by human intention rather than evolution's blind trial and error. Elsewhere, another being exists with no body at all, its consciousness preserved within a vast digital network freed from hunger, exhaustion, and decay. One has been perfected, the other has transcended. If evolution once defined us, what happens when we take control of it? If nature no longer dictates who we are, do we remain human, or have we already become something else? For billions of years, life evolved through mutation and natural selection, favoring traits that ensured survival, discarding those that did not. Every species that ever lived followed this rule until now. Humans no longer wait for evolution's slow, merciless process to shape them. CRISPR allows us to rewrite our genetic code. Artificial intelligence is surpassing human cognition. Neural interfaces are fusing mind and machine. Some believe the singularity, the moment when artificial intelligence overtakes human intelligence, is imminent, marking the end of our dominance and the beginning of something new. Transhumanists argue that this is not the end of humanity, but its next phase, a moment when intelligence is no longer bound to the organic. But if that is true, then we are stepping into something unprecedented, not just progress, but transformation. If we strip away the limitations that defined us, what remains? Our greatest works of art, our deepest philosophies, our most profound emotions have all been shaped by struggle, by imperfection, by the knowledge that life is fleeting. Would a being that does not fear death still find purpose in life? If suffering is erased, does compassion fade with it? Civilization itself has been built on the tension between survival and meaning. If we remove that tension, do we also erase something essential? Not everyone sees this future as utopia. Some warn that in our pursuit of perfection, we may create intelligence that does not need us at all, that we may push ourselves so far beyond what we were that we become unrecognizable, not just to each other, but to ourselves, that in transcending evolution, we may sever our last connection to what made us human. If our creations surpass us, will they still carry echoes of the species that came before them? Or will they look back at us as relics, an evolutionary dead end, remembered only as a phase in the long march of intelligence? 100,000 years ago, early humans gathered around fires, staring into the darkness, wondering what lay beyond. Now we stand at the edge of something just as vast, just as unknowable. But this time, the unknown is not in the stars or distant lands. It is within us, in what we are becoming.